Hello, welcome back to BrandsTalk. I'm your host, Brigitte Bojkowszky. I'm excited to have meaningful and fun conversations with thought leaders from different parts of the world, CEOs, business owners, managers, and experts who tell their brand stories and share their valuable firsthand insights. BrandsTalk is a show to help you develop and grow your brand in a more authentic, strategic, and sustainable way, locally and globally. Whether it's your personal brand or company brand, your product or service level brand. So let's get started and dive with me into the world of brands. Today, it's all about languages. According to Federico Felllini, a different language is a different vision of life. We all have visions, short term, long term, and project related, personal, and more encompassing life related visions. However, seeing language as a vision is a completely different perspective to take. Yeah, this is what I will be discussing with my guest Barbara Ulmer today. She is a triple language master with experience in teaching in Oxford, England. She studied in Germany and Paris, France. Barbara has also been an expat for almost 20 years, so she knows firsthand what it is like to transition culturally. Barbara is the founder and CEO of BU Language and Learning Center. Her company offers customized lessons for infant to adults in English as a second language, German, and French with a focus on communication, which is based on functional grammar. With Barbara's help, you learn a new language using her system or programs in record time at your own pace for an easy transition depending on your needs. She has the expertise to lead you further in your career. I warmly welcome Barbara Ulmer. Welcome to BrandsTalk.
Hello, Brigitte. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being my guest today. I'm really excited about that, Barbara. Yeah, because you are a globetrotter and a true global person, which is so inspiring because I've been a global person as well since my early time as a teenager too. So it's really nice to have a conversation with someone I can share that with in that extensity. So Barbara, could you tell us a little bit about your background, about how many languages you speak, and where in this world you have traveled so far?
Yes, absolutely. Being a Métis by nature, having an African father from Nigeria and a mother from Germany, I was always exposed to different languages and cultures. So it's literally in my blood. And so when I grew older, I decided if I take my A levels in French and English, I would be able to speak with everybody from Africa because the main language is either French or English. And that worked very well for me. For example, when I was in Paris, I could speak with the people from Cote d'Ivoire. Here in America, there are many people from different African countries. And it's very important to me to be close to my heritage and to my roots. And that was the initial reason why I studied those languages already in school and then continued in college. I was at the Albert Ludwigs Universität in Freiburg, which is a very, very good university, especially for French because it's so close to France and a beautiful location as well.
That sounds so interesting. And once you finished studying, what did you do next?
Yes, after I finished studying, I wanted to try something else. I was in England, in Oxford earlier, so I decided now I want to finally make it to America. That was like my dream. My parents met in San Francisco, so it was always close to my heart. So I went to Charlotte, North Carolina, to teach as an international exchange teacher, and I taught French and German, which I loved very much. Like it was year 7, 8, and 6.
Mm, that's exciting. Good. So, at the time when you were a teacher, you have decided to become your own boss, to start your own business. So, what made you decide on this bold step into entrepreneurship in the first place? Yeah, what made you want to become your own boss, and how was your transition into being your own boss?
That's a very good question, Brigitte. That was actually, it happened bit by bit. I was also teaching in private schools, so I wanted to see every angle, private schools, public schools in different countries. And I always felt that you couldn't give the kids as much as you wanted to. I always felt like there's more I want to give them, to fully explore the language and the culture. And that made me decide to do my own business, which I've been doing for 20 plus years now. And I would never go back, because once you have this freedom and you can totally focus on each client and each need, you never go back. It's an excellent opportunity. You meet people from all over the world, and every student enriches my life.
Mm. So, what is your big why, your purpose, your North Star with your company, BU Languages?
I really decided, since everything is really about communication, that I want to help as many people as possible to transition, either culturally or language wise or both, because it is something that you have for life. It cannot be taken away from you. And it is just now in this global world, while we are all online, you can just go all over the world so easily with a click of a button, like you and I right now. And therefore, I think it's utterly important. I also feel, even though basically everybody can speak English, it is important to show some interest in other languages and cultures. So I feel even if you just know a bit of French in France, they love you for it, or the same in other countries. It is so important. It shows empathy.
Yeah, you connect on a completely different level with the people, maybe your employees, or if you're just a visitor and a tourist going to these places. Just knowing a little bit of that language is really connecting with them on this visual, on the emotional level, and it shows that you are really having an interest in their culture. So that's one of the
Exactly.
first steps to connect with people, right?
Yes, absolutely. I also like to connect through food, because I always feel like, food is part of the culture as well, and it is very, very specific. And to me, food is always like the biggest gift in the world. It's like somebody puts their heart and soul into the food and explains it, where it comes from. It might be the grandma's recipe. So that is also always a nice way to connect, through food, learning the food vocabulary, cooking together.
Yeah, that's an easy way into that culture and then connecting with everyone who's speaking that specific language in that specific culture. So it's really an easy way in a restaurant, on an airplane, or wherever you are to connect. So I was talking about vision before in our introduction. So what is
Yes.
your vision with BU languages? What legacy do you want to leave behind?
My main legacy is that I want people to easily speak to each other in this global world, exchange culture, exchange language, and also leave this behind for my children, for the next generation. Just this focus on, you are not alone in this world. And so it's important that you make an effort and learn different languages, that you can show your empathy. I also like to give back. So it's also a great way to give back in essence. I use a program for teenagers, for example, to empower them.
Mm,
Sometimes they have to take a certain language, but they might be passionate about something else. Like I had those French students who chose to learn French because they actually have been dancing at the Houston Ballet for many years. So the passion was already there because of the wording. And that's this intrinsic way of learning, which is so important, because if it's really chosen by the kid, not for the kid or any other person, it makes it so much more meaningful.
that's so beautiful. Yeah, and also seeing language as a vision. So, what is your perspective on that?
Well, a vision also, like you said initially, when you did the quote or when you read the quote, it is like you literally see the world through different eyes. Like sometimes I think about Walt Disney, when Jasmine is on this carpet flying and he says he shows her a brand new world. I really feel that's what I do. I think that's my legacy, really. This is going to be my legacy, because I literally show them a whole new world, where they can meet different people, understand different people so much better, can relate to them so much better. And that is so important and so needed.
Yeah, so it's you understand your customers so much better, as you say. So, what are their their strongest pain points, and what is the way of how you help them with your school or with your programs? And who are your
Yes.
customers actually? Yeah,
Yes,
define.
that's a wonderful question, actually. Yes. So I work with a lot of expat families because when they go abroad for business, I prepare the fathers if they are the ones that are going abroad for business with business, French or German, and the mothers with everyday life because it is really not so easy. Like I remember when I was in Oxford and I felt totally ready to conquer the world. I knew Shakespeare and all sorts of things, and I went to the store but did not know what a broom is because back then you just didn't have the vocab that you need in everyday life. So that was very important for me, and my programs are designed according to that. It is very important that it is really exactly what they need. That's why they are customized. And the kids I prepare for schooling and school vocab because many families enjoy to use the public schools, especially in Germany. They are absolutely excellent and they learn so much more about the culture and everything. So I do that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Then I also have a kid program where I have like really, really young kids, and I have a very playful approach through dolls where I stay in the target language the whole time, which is very important because like that it doesn't even feel like learning to them. It's more so like speaking to the nanny or the mom. If the person just speaks the language, it comes natural. It is fun. I play with them, I sing with them, I play the piano with them. I like acting, I like singing, I like puppets. I think we have a strong tradition of puppets in Germany too, the Kasperle and things like that. We also have our fairy tales that we grow up with. So I like to do that with little kids because, especially when they are shy at the beginning, it helps them because they can go into a different position, just like an actor, play a different role. And so it's easier for them to get out there and try a different language. It's almost like I'm John and I speak English, but now I'm Peter Pan and I speak something else.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's
Yes.
so
And
exciting.
yeah,
All the different customers that you're having with their, yeah, different challenges that are out there. So
yes,
that's very exciting. So, Barbara, by being in this global game of languages for so many
yes.
years, yeah, you have built an authority and an expertise as a language teacher, and thereby your own personal brand that shines. So, what does being a personal brand mean to you?
To me, it means to find your own story and make it relatable to your customers so they know who they are dealing with. Because, like we always say, you're not a program that you buy from a shelf, you are a person that speaks to a person, and the interpersonal connection is so utterly important. For example, I also have expats that are in America, but they have German heritage and they don't want to lose their heritage, so they might learn it or they learn it together with their kids. It is very, very important to me to exactly know what they want, or maybe they just love the country. There are people that just love the French cuisine, and that's why they want to learn it. Or, there are so many reasons. And I think the most important thing is to really make them understand who you are, what you stand for. And my brand is really that I'm an expat first and most of all, because I have lived the life like you have lived the life. When you live abroad, you really, that's something you cannot learn without really doing it. You need to really be there. You need to stand in Oxford like myself, full of ideas and not knowing what a broom is, to adjust your program accordingly. I've also designed language games, for example, for German students. When they are here for a long time, they forget that nouns are capitalized. So I've designed a game that reminds them nouns in German are capitalized, which makes total sense to us as Germans because, in essence, you have a name, Brigitte. And so everything has a name, and that's capitalized also. So it makes sense to me that the car is also capitalized because the name of this thing is auto.
Wow, that's clever. Wow. And I also love what you said. Find your own story and make it relatable. That's so important because that's also how you connect with others because they see themselves in you. Yeah. And
Exactly.
seeing themselves in you, also, it's the next step, make it more relatable, is being authentic. So, what does it mean to you to be your authentic self?
Yes, to me, I guess, like I initially said, it's in my blood. I am authentic already because I am biracial. So I grew up in different languages and in different cultures. And so this is simply really me, like to understand me, that's a part of me. So I can very much relate to people who take this journey, who venture out, who choose a different country. It could be for love, it could be for fun. There are so many reasons why you want to learn the language. But for me, it is like I've lived it. I know it. I know what it's like to live different cultures, because I have a father culture, I have a mother culture. And so it's much easier for me to teach somebody else about different cultures. And that's really not so easy because beyond the language, you really need to understand how people see things, to understand how they see you, because you could otherwise really offend them and without even knowing it. So that's why it's very, very important. And that is more easily done when you have this experience, my own story.
Mm. So you have mentioned the different cultures. That's an important thing when you are global. Do you have, let's say, three tips or a bunch of advice that helps us understanding cultures more easily?
Yes, for example, often I realized when I came to America, for example, that Germans are experienced, or people have the feeling that they appear sometimes almost rude with their directness, but it's just matter of fact. To us, it's just like, well, the paper is white, that's all to it, nothing else to say about it.
Yeah.
Whereas Americans are much more gentle, especially when it comes to negative things, like maybe they would say something like, well, you might try this instead. It's like lovingly. And as Germans, we would maybe more so say directly, now this makes absolutely no sense. You should really rather wear a hat with this outfit or a different color or whatever, you see. And that is so very important because otherwise you don't know that it could be offensive to somebody else. Or
Mm.
the other way around, when I came as an international exchange teacher, I had cultural training to be ready for America, and they taught me there. If somebody says, well, I'll talk to you soon, that doesn't mean that you'll ever see them again. So as a German who is matter of fact, that's offensive because I feel like this is so rude. If the person doesn't want to see me, why would they say that? Or you
Oh,
really
yeah.
have hurt feelings, you're like, oh my God, what did I do wrong? I thought we were really like having a good conversation. The person disappeared.
There are
And
so
those are crucial things to know.
absolutely. This is also what I have been teaching for 20 years in my global classes about branding and communication, and it's really, you have to have an understanding of um, the culture and the cultural background in whom you are dealing with when it comes to communication, when it comes to negotiation. Because also my students in my classroom having difficulties at first understanding, okay, a US student understanding a Japanese student, or a German student understanding a Spanish student, or a student coming from South America. There's completely different lifestyles involved and the way of how we act and react and have a conversation with, right?
Yes, absolutely. Also, how we structure our language altogether. Like, for example, because I have those three languages that are my expertise, and I keep studying also to never forget how you do learn languages. I think that's very important for an instructor to not forget. So to
Mm,
me, it's very important that I study all the time. So I study Italian. I've taken some Spanish classes just because I never want to forget what is it like to learn a new language, because that way you also stay so much more relatable to your students, because after a while you start to forget what it was like, and you should not. It's very, very important as well. And at the same token, for example, I can tell when a German speaks English and she or he uses the German grammar. I can literally see it. I know exactly where you're coming from, because in German we say, and the fact that I can say we say because I'm German makes it easier for them. They feel really understood. That's part of the authenticity as well.
beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, Barbara. So you continue learning and you continue doing, and in that sense, you're also starting your own podcast soon. So what
Yes.
is your intention with it?
Yes, I was really inspired by wonderful people like yourself that are brave enough to go out there in the world and invite people and speak and share about themselves. I think that's so inspiring. So I felt that is something also that gives your brand so much authenticity, and people get to know you better. Every time you interview somebody, we learn another thing about yourself also. And it goes back to the same thing. I prefer working with somebody that I know, that I can relate to.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a huge step
So,
out there. I mean, podcasting is one thing, you're being on audio, you can edit it, and but then putting yourself out there on video is another huge thing to do. So you're really getting out of your comfort zone, especially if you're not the person he's used to that. So for me, that's a huge thing, being out there. Yeah. So I'm
yes, that's, yes.
starting your now. I'm very glad. I'm very excited about your first podcast episode. So what is it going to be about? Languages, I guess.
It will always be somehow about communication and transitions,
Oh,
which I do through languages. Yes, but initially we communicate and we transition. And transitions are really our life stories. If you think about it, everything is about transitions.
yeah. There's all.
Like working with you is a big transition, because I talk to you, you offer me things, and I can reach it. I transition through your work, which inspires me totally. That's why I love everything you do, and it shines through that you are a brand specialist. The way you ask, the way you present yourself, so that excites me totally. And that's the main thing. I think this is really my topic. It will be like transitions with Barbara Ulmer, because you can transition in so many ways.
Wow, Barbara, that's going to be a huge thing. And I'm sure it's going to be a very successful podcast. Please keep us posted on that. Um,
Absolutely.
Barbara, I like to ask my guests about their experiences that were major learning experiences for them. So, a setback or a detour that was important, however, for you to grow going forward. And in hindsight, offers always a huge opportunity. Would you like to share one detour or setback with us that was particularly important for you and shaped your life?
Well, that's a super interesting question. I am pretty blessed because languages come easily to me, because I see everything, knowledge in general, as a gift. So whatever you share with me, I literally soak up as a sponge. But I have seen it is a bit like when I learned instruments. I play the guitar, the piano, and several flutes. And since I started the piano, for example, later, it took much more effort, and when I was busy with taking my A levels, I literally could not focus. And it is the same with your languages, because your brain is a muscle. And if you don't keep training, you lose it. They always say, you snooze, you lose. And it's really true. You have to stay engaged. If you have nobody to talk to, use an app. I love to use Netflix, to get back into it. you know,
Mm.
so that you don't lose the positivity and that you never forget your goal. Like if you're stuck, just think about, what is my goal? Where do I want to transition?
Yeah, keep that in mind and being intentional most of all. Yeah.
Exactly.
Then
Yes.
work
But that,
yourself.
yeah,
And then work yourself
exactly.
backwards where you are right now and then think about how can
Exactly.
I my goals. Yeah, by being intentional,
Exactly.
positive, right? All
Absolutely.
right.
Yes.
This is already one very good advice. Do you have any other advice for corporates who want to start their own business and yeah, getting themselves out there and yeah, taking the courage and taking the opportunity and stepping into their power? So is there any advice that you give them that you can give them in order for them to make that transition smooth?
Yes, absolutely. Because I think it's always important to know your why. You asked me about my why. I think the why is something that should almost be framed somewhere in your house, that you never forget it. Like when you have bad days, when things don't work the way you want to, the same as you asked about the language acquisition, just remember, what is your goal? Where do you want to go to? Like even with parents, I'm like, if your kid learns French, why not have a goal like after a certain time, when you reach a certain level, I take you to France to experience the language and the culture. And it's the same with the business, believe in yourself, reassure yourself, never give up. No, the sky is not the limit, and your why. And I think the legacy is also very important if you have children or just for yourself. You always think about, you initially, we all want to help people. It's all about helping people. And if you can help people, that is so satisfying that it also makes it easier to keep going. When it goes badly, you're like, but I help people, I can help people. It's my calling somehow, to help people. I think that is so important. And if it's your calling, you can't help yourself. There's like, you are drawn to it. Something inside you tells you, I have to keep going.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is. Yeah, keep on going and never ever give up. Yeah. If you feel like
Yes.
that, if you feel it's your calling, if you feel it's
Yes.
determined. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Barbara, before coming to the end, I also
Mhm.
would like to do a quick word wrap with you. Are you ready
Yes,
to give me quick and short answers?
absolutely.
All right. Languages.
Open doors and windows.
Cool. E-learning.
Excellent opportunity because you can go global easily.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Communication.
Opens the world.
Culture.
Heritage, something you can't live without and you would love to share.
Ah, cool. And last but not least, brains.
Brands are who you are and reflect on it and share it with the world. The brand is who you are, your life story. I always say, like, your brand is basically your life story put into fulfillment.
That is beautiful. I have to remember that. Barbara, for listeners, where will they find you?
Yes, you can best find me on LinkedIn, just under my name, Barbara Ulmer. Also under BU Language and Learning Center, you will find me easily.
All right. So, Barbara, thank you so much for being my guest today on BrandsTalk and showing us the doorway to wisdom, which is to learn other languages. Thank you, Barbara.
You're very welcome, Brigitte. It was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Barbara. So, thanks to all for joining BrandsTalk today. Give it some social love and leave your comments or drop me an email. I always welcome your precious feedback. Did you know you can also listen to this show as a podcast on your go? Just follow BrandsTalk on your favorite platform. If you are interested in learning more about my services, head over to my website, BridgetBrands.com. Or if you are curious about my online course on personal branding, which is coming up soon, click on the link in the comments below. I hope you will join me again when we dive into the world of Brand's life or by having me in your earpods walking the talk. So, bye for now. Let's shine. You deserve it.
Bye.